Over onto the blue side, going to be banning away first and foremost the Varus and that Zyra, so getting rid of maximum comfort here for Ruler and Court JJ. But so far, Braum is still on the table. And Samsung have already shown us that they don't mind first picking that, so it seems like that's probably going to be the snatch up unless BBQ takes it for themselves.
I wonder how they feel about Kalista, because Kalista will be the tier list ban that has been the big three on red side, Kalista, Caitlyn, and the Zac. And okay, they will just ban away Bless's Elise, which has been the biggest pick for him in recent memory. That has been their only real early game power. Speaking of early game power, because Samsung are on blue, they could ban away the Jace in game 1, but they're going to take Braum over everything. Ruler is not traditionally a Kalista player, so maybe they feel like they can get both, which may indeed prove true. But for any other teams to be a surprising draft, but when we saw first pick Braum put to such good use by Samsung in game 1, does make a hell of a lot of sense to go with it again for BBQ.
Yeah, have to take it off the table, but even with Haru coming in here, we'll still be picking up the Rek'Sai like we saw from Ambition in game 1. So go ahead and snatch that one up. Where do they go from here? So it seems like they want to forgo the Kalista, and it might just go back over to the Xayah that Ruler had a very nice debut game on.
Showed us something new. He's played Kalista before, 2-1 on the pick.
Okay.
Bit of a last-second swap away, and just going to go for the Tahm Kench into the Braum. Old laning matchup we saw a lot in the first 3 weeks of the season, but Tahm Kench hasn't been as commonplace in recent weeks. Looks like hyper carry is going to be what BBQ are looking for, predictable on their recent play, but certainly not from their game 1 when they flexed the Corki to the mid lane. I see a lot of nods at the head coming through from Ghost, maybe saying, yes, please, would love to play some Twitch. We'll be locked in at the last possible second.
Yep, we'll just go ahead, let that clock run down so they get that. So bottom lane secured here for the side of BBQ. See where they want to go now, because, I mean, the likes of that Talia is still available. Both Tempt and Crown favor that pick quite a bit.
Might feel like BBQ want to hold on to mid lane, though, after being so well just taken over by the Cassiopeia solo kill early in game 1.
Okay, here we go.
He's going to take the Sejuani. So doing it a bit Samsung style.
We're going to steal the duo.
Sejuani Braum. The duo are going to be piloted by BBQ on this side. Does mean very big front line, potentially, for the Twitch to free fire behind. And remember, Rek'Sai's already drafted by Samsung. If we remember back to what Longzhu was playing in Series 1, the Gragas was the big pick to be able to interrupt all these tanks and actually get access to more priority targets. Not going to be available for Samsung, but they just draft Ashe. When they don't have Varus open, they go Ashe, and they're still going to go Super Stan.
Well, it's just going to be the Freljord match, I suppose, with the Ashe joining in.
Are there any more Freljord champions?
Lissandra.
That's true.
Would be another one, but somewhere Kuzan is crying that that's not in the meta.
I mean, Crown played it quite a lot back in the day as well.
Yeah,
but,
in the past, but she's still not all there.
And we don't get to hear Korean Lissandra screams rip through our ears for a little bit longer. That's thanks. I asked not to hear it. So
I know.
Very kind of you to share.
I wanted to get all the what face spam in the chat.
Thanks very much for that. The Galio going to be denied away. That was, of course, one of the other champions you can pile on with unkillable front lines that Ashe certainly won't have any fun dealing with.
I'm sorry if you had your headphones turned up very loud, chat.
Yeah, you're making a really great re-entrance to the stream.
I know, right?
Galios. They really want to see more of you now.
Exactly. Well, Galio, Jace, Camille banned away. Don't want that into the hands of Cuvée. Yeah, again, but I mean, he could just go back to the Kled again if he wants to, but never mind. They'll just ban it.
Yeah, Kled has lane priority on a lot of the top laners BBQ would have been considering, apart from, say, Jace. That is still a possibility for the side of BBQ especially. Oh, sorry, the Jace was banned, so the tank pull expected from Crazy with the Jace gone would largely have been countered by a Kled, and it was the Kled answer for the Jarvan in game 1, but it's going to be the Jarvan blind pick in game 2. Happy to take the Jarvan. They are undefeated on this season and pick the engages and want to force terms in the mid game, and the Jarvan's a great way to do that.
Just leaving that nice last pick for Crown in the mid lane, see where he wants to go. Renekton will be the answer for the J4 for Crazy.
Yeah, it's a good laning matchup, so far no complaints there. The blind pick mid laner. LeBlanc saw bans in the first series of the day, and now we're looking for a blind pick from Tempt. A lot of different ways you can go.
Please.
Crowd excited about the Aurelion Sol.
I would love to see this and see what Crown's answer would be. But maybe we just play it super safe for Tempt. Oh.
Taliyah would make the most sense given what they have. They've got a winning lane matchup in top side. Taliyah to potentially invade with the Sejuani around level 6 as well. A lot of different ways you can answer the Taliyah in mid lane. Orky, one of the famous ones. Kassadin, a possibility. But with the Renekton potentially having lane control over Jarvan, it'd be probably too much of a risk. Take the Kassadin, so why not go with what worked in game 1? Okay. Why not stick with the Cassiopeia?
Yeah, just going to go ahead and pick this one up here yet again. So had that solo kill coming through after that initial gank, getting rid of the flash from Tempt. And right now still hovering those same summoner spells. Seems like he's going to be maybe sticking with the flash heal. See if he's going to swap anything around and try to go over for the ghost. Or maybe even the cleanse.
Cleanse value for the Ashe and also the Cassiopeia ult pretty high, so will be a consideration, but there's also a Jarvan that Cleanse doesn't do much against, so you're going to have headaches about initiation from Samsung one way or the other. I imagine whatever he can take for laning phase is probably what needs to happen, given that Tempt was pretty well taken down by Crown in game 1. There's definitely options for BBQ as this game goes on. They have winning lanes. Specifically in top lane, they're going to have a lot of a happy time. Twitch has a very tanky front line to be able to free fire behind. It's not like Samsung's comp, Jarvan accepted, has massive access to the back line. They went with the Rek'Sai quite early, and then they couldn't go for the Gragas that did so well for the side of Longzhu Gaming earlier. So definitely a little bit less certainty about this game, but if it plays out like game 1, which was that surgical incision by Samsung that BBQ could never come back from, maybe the scaling doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe they can't hit that tanky point where their items coming through because they're just getting strangled out of the game yet again. Certainly is a possibility. We'll see how Haru swapping in for Ambition is going to change the style of play here for Samsung as we load up for game 2. Welcome to Summoner's Rift for potentially the final time tonight.
Draft is definitely happier from BBQ. They didn't need to be too tricky to get good laning matchups.
MVP's not playing today.
It's true. Maybe it's for the most valuable player rather than for the most valuable player organization. What an awkward name that is.
It couldn't be.
Whenever you talk about MVP with MVP in the game, it's a bad time.
Yeah, especially when the MVP is not from MVP.
Which is very frequently the case in summer season.
It doesn't happen very much.
No. We haven't talked to those players very much.
Nope.
But, yeah, pushing lanes in top and mid lane for BBQ. Bot lane's going to be more in the control of Samsung, although with the Tahm Kench, not as guaranteed. Should still be pretty comfortable. So that kind of puts our sights on Haru, who will be playing Rek'Sai in this game. First sighting of Haru's Rek'Sai for the season, and I'd have to check, but I don't know if he's ever played Rek'Sai on the side of Samsung Galaxy. Might have played it for CJ in 2016, but...
yeah, hard to, think back to that point because it's really just been the very aggressive picks for Haru in the
this
past.
season it has been the Lee Sin and the Zac. Able to look over, and he has played, he has played the Rek'Sai, but I believe almost exclusively on CJ Entus in 2016, so something a bit different for him. Definitely a different player and with a different squad than the Haru that struggled so extensively in summer last year. It's crazy he was counter jumping.
He was trying to, get a bit cheeky, but this might just cost him. Tries to make it to the wall. The heal comes down from Tempt, so 2 summoner spells going to be used from the side of BBQ, and all they get for it is a few Raptors.
Yeah, their ward was so deep that they didn't have the shallow vision to know that Jarvan was there for the first auto, and then Cassiopeia, I guess you're happy that some of her mana bar went into harass. Does mean that Crown will have to focus on CSing to get his mana back in laning phase. So I guess maybe it relieves pressure from Taliyah, but it does draw both summoners from Crazy.
Yeah. So not going to be a great start here for BBQ to have that turnaround performance compared to game number 1. QB starting things off with a W. Taking that Aegis.
Yeah, Golden Aegis for a bit of a slow. Try to chase down the Crocodile.
They came close.
It is kind of awkward that he doesn't have the Q to push and thus still gets level 2 first without a flash. That's crazy.
No Dragon Strike. Haru just making his rounds, and Bless maybe going for a bit of an invade if he wants to jump over the wall. Just going to drop some vision for now, so we'll be able to spot out Haru if he tries to wrap around on this very forward push. Renekton.
Level 3. So Obviously a little bit more safety there from Crazy, but no minion wave to surf backwards given how aggressively he'd been able to push. So a bit of pressure relief from Cuvée early with the summoners being down. Was a mini win for Samsung Galaxy. Ooh, Ruthless Predator.
Got it.
Always feels good when you pull that off.
The lane dominance has been established.
And dominance in mid lane, not established yet, but definitely for the series has been established by Crown from game 1.
I remember when I first discovered that you could, full rotate a ward, kill it as Leona. Back when she was pretty new.
Felt good, huh?
Yeah, it always felt good to pull that off, even though it's literally just auto-attacking and hitting Q once.
I mean, mechanics that were revolutionary and 5 years ago, certainly normal now. I know that when I got to Korea, started playing solo queue, and obviously wasn't the highest rated to begin the season. I was amazed that, in just mid-gold, players were just perfect at Lee Sin mechanics and stuff like that, that 5 years ago would have been unimaginable. The mechanical floor has risen extensively.
Yeah.
Things that we were amazed about, few and far between now. This is being hunted by Haru, but no incentive to go any further aggressive.
It's a Sejuani. She's pretty tanky. So odds of coming up with anything there are going to be very slim. So for now, it's just going to be a bit of a farm fest.
Hooray, a farm fest.
I know, it's wonderful.
I mean, game 1 was a macro victory, and they don't necessarily have pushing lanes this time, so it does mean the pace of the game is a bit slower. CS leads available abound, but nothing really to comment on too extensively. Just some standard League of Legends.
So, I mean, I didn't really get to talk to you about this. I'm sure you and Atlas have kind of discussed your time, but how was Rift Rivals?
I mean, the tournament itself was one of those weird tournaments where the best of one makes it hard to evaluate. It was fun to see international competition. To me, it kind of felt as a primer for Worlds. I think kind of the biggest learnings were for teams that had done super well in their league. Like OMG, for example, came in 6-0 and then just didn't have the strategies to beat international teams. And it was kind of that early refresher. It's much better than getting to Worlds group stage and just being like, whoa, this meta's weird, and just losing, and then your whole season is over. So I think it does serve a purpose for preparing some of these regions. And then obviously the EU versus NA was all about the beef, and that was interesting in its own right. But to me, the big highlight was being able to go back to Sydney and be back in Australia for the first time in 18 months. Felt like home. That was a good feeling. But then straight back to Korea for the League of Legends.
Yeah.
We basically had that moment where I got back just as you guys left.
See, yeah, exactly. Well, we didn't really get to see each other until I got back from Shanghai. But see, I've given up on the hopes of having an event near my home. Something tells me that New Jersey is not going to become a hot spot for esports events.
You could just generalize your hopes to America, and then you'll be fine.
I think we had IPL or MLG years ago make a stop at Atlantic City, but yeah, I don't think that we'll have anything. New York is my best bet, or maybe Philadelphia. Something could happen there. Those are close enough. As far as in the state of New Jersey, I don't know. There's not a lot going on there.
Cautious optimism, I think, is the way forward on that one. So cautious optimism about how BBQ have started up this game. Definitely not willing to write in the books for Samsung just yet. There's an air of inevitability because it is the first versus 8th place matchup, because game 1 was so one-sided. But like we said in the preview of this game, I don't think it's a stretch to say that BBQ came in with a hope of having a good performance. Whether that meant winning a game, winning the series, that's a bit more difficult to talk about. But they were surprisingly outclassed in game 1.
Yeah. But, I mean, things are starting off slower here. So, don't really have a lead coming through at all for Samsung. Just a few hundred at the moment. As BBQ will be pushing forward, clearing out some of that vision. Got this Cloud Drake sitting here. But seems like it's just a few more focus on the vision control around the area rather than actually wanting to get the objective.
Gorge Jade is face-checking Totoro.
Yeah, he says hello. One more hit would get that proc, but can't quite get in range and chase him far enough.
What a gank synergy between the Sejuani Braum. We talked about the duo and the tankiness it provides, but Both of them have the stun passive on melee hits, so a lot of synergy between the two when it comes to the almost permanent lockdown. Tempt able to create a lot of pressure, just leaving lane and dodging towards the top side. That's why Cuvée had to pull off the minion wave. Already surrendered a 26 CS lead to Crazy. That was Crazy laning without flash, to remember, from level 1.
Yeah. So it's been doing a good job to go ahead and bounce back from that. So they try to push those items through. But Cuvée, he just wants to be the one that can go in, get those flag and drags off the lockdown Ghost, lock him in the Cataclysm. So I don't think he's too concerned about the deficit that he's in at the moment.
First impression, if you ask me who is favored by a free farm style game like we've been seeing so far, is probably BBQ, just because team fighting with a Twitch and this much of a front line seems like it is largely going to be successful. The tankiness on Samsung is certainly decent, but it's not outrageous like a Galio, for example. It's kind of on Crown to be the game breaker in terms of damage. If he can power down front lines, force heavy magic resist itemization as a sole magic damage dealer from Samsung on the side of BBQ, then maybe that is a way. They have the damage to DPS down Renekton, Sejuani, and Braum, but it's no mean feat for Samsung Galaxy to win team fights if they're even, and for now, it's been a very even first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any aggression out of Crown as he starts poking forward, trying to find something.
I mean, so non-committal to wave clear as Talia. You can just fire the threaded volley and then sidestep on most abilities, and you're still pushing, so difficult to make that happen, Achilles.
That was a nice bit of damage there from the side of Temp, landing that seismic shove, but we will have an objective being taken finally.
Flag is down.
Break gets started up. Cuvée, yeah, immediately just flashing away from that charge, keeping himself safe. Crown just going to rotate down here as well.
Always have to watch those cooldowns. Flag being down, many had to blow flash. Now they're looking for more top lane.
Glacial Prison coming through. Couldn't talk there for a second. Temp does arrive off that Weaver's wall, and that should be first blood. There we go. It's taken by Bless, and that's going to open up for that turret as well. Started taking a bit of damage. So could we see the first brick?
May very well do. But with no minion wave, it's going to be slower. And actually, Samsung powering through mid lane. Remember, red buff on Haru means the speed is going to be decent. That's why you see the answering roam from BBQ. You're going to get a lot of damage on mid lane, but probably no more unless they want to go really aggressive.
Seems like they will go ahead and heal back the wave clear here from Temp. Just a bit too strong as well, so I'll have to let that one sit. In the meantime, Cuvée using the TP to try to stop that turret from going down in the top lane.
Samsung rotating as 4. They want to take down this turret, and they're considering the dive. Tom Kench here as well.
Arrow coming through, going to get juked out there by Bless. Or JJ popped in with a seismic shove, has to flash away as the Great Shield goes through, but that turret will go over. So first brick picked up here by Samsung, so we'll go ahead and advance their gold lead a bit.
A team effort to get first brick, but it's not just the immediate gold reward that Samsung gets from that play. They also get the mid lane turret away from Talia, and now Talia has to overextend to get the same sort of pressure on a Cassiopeia that is trivial in a short lane, like mid lane when both outer turrets are up. So this is a big win for Crown in particular, who's actually already been able to grow a CS lead over the Talia and will be able to extend it as suddenly there's safe positioning for a Talia in a longer lane. Makes it a bit of a headache to both harass and push in at Cassiopeia.
It's also an 11-minute Rod of Ages coming through, so very quickly building that up. So we'll be in a very nice spot in about 10 minutes.
Already mentioned that needs to be the one to put out big damage this game. The utility carry like Ruler on the Ashe, who will be going Blade the Ruin King, so not going to be the Essence Reaver full utility build that we saw from Prey recently. Makes sense. Someone has to kill the tanks. I wonder if Crown will find room for his favorite item, the Liandry's Torment.
Something tells me that he probably will. Just picks that one up on pretty much everything.
I think Baron buff is the really big claim here for Samsung. So we're talking about how team fighting is going to be difficult for them to pull off. They get Baron buff, the wave clear from BBQ gets a lot less reliable. And potential for turret dives and snowball is big. So taking mid lane turret this early makes Rift Herald and eventually Baron with a Cassiopeia free farmed a big possibility. Blade the Ruin King and Cassiopeia together means that Samsung do have good Baron threat, and that's an objective BBQ will have to keep extensive tabs on post 20 minutes.
Well, that top tier 1 turret does go down. Crazy Evil will chip away at that. Cuvée knew that it was going to die. There's nothing that he could do. That Temp was roaming. Just lets that one fall. Haru in the meantime, poking forward, trying to get some scouting done. Seems that red buff has come up, but just doesn't want to stick around, doesn't want to get caught out here by multiple members of BBQ, so we'll just peel back. Slowed up. Throw down the Unbreakable. You see the proc coming through from the Blade of the Rune King. Flash away means that the Ash Arrow will not connect.
Teleport was going to come in, was cancelled though. So it looked. Difficult to understand what happened there, but ignore that point. Flash defensively from Totoro, the only thing to really talk about. Now Haru actually hunting for Bless.
Going in, trying to get the knock up. Can't quite find it though. Will just be halted as Samsung keeps trying to get aggressive, but just don't quite have the windows to get in there.
This means that Samsung is creating pretty extensive pressure around bot side. Sepia not in the area. For now, not in vision, but is near the bottom turrets. Trying to take another turret basically under the noses of BBQ.
Ghost is just sitting here.
I mean, they have Haru's Tremor Sense to let them know which angles BBQ is coming in from.
So have to be worried about that Glacial Prison from Bless. Catches multiple members, and that could be very bad times for Samsung, especially if Core JJ is one of the ones that gets locked up. Won't have that Devour to keep anybody alive.
Cuvée was pinged out on the red buff. Crazy. Pinged out by Cuvée on the red buff. Doesn't actually feel like he has enough time to finish it and prioritizes picking up the minion wave over slowly stealing red, so that objective will go the way of Samsung.
Will get locked down. Keeps himself safe. In the meantime, Fisher
down.
coming through. Ruler will get popped up. This fight will connect. The sun comes through. Ghost has the proc. He'll take him down to Totoro. One more shot would have killed him, but he makes it out of there safely. So nice juggle coming through from the bot lane of BBQ. They put another kill on the board, 2-0.
Yeah, greedy stuff coming through from Rolo. Didn't use his flash early and had his heal up, never used it during that whole escapade from BBQ. So I felt like Ruler, if he was a bit more on the ball with his summoner spells, would have lived. Crown could not take the Ghost in this game, showing respect for the lockdown CC, so couldn't follow up. And speaking of follow-up,
Weaver's Wall coming through, seismic shove, almost connecting. Cubing gonna flash that last moment, keeps himself alive. Crown will have pressure and likely take this tier 1 turret in the bottom lane, so they will keep their heads above the water as far as the gold is concerned here for Samsung, but not nearly the lead that they would like. And on the other side of the map, the Rift Herald will be started up.
all they're able to get as a bonus compared to the Rift Herald is going to be the jungle camps. Could turn on to the Drake. It is a Cloud Drake, no Mountain or Infernal. It's a frustration.
Maybe we get another triple set. This time it'll be Cloud, perhaps.
Does mean Crown without Ghost is going to be very fast, so acquiring that first target can be so relevant to Cassiopeia.
Well, Bless, about as slowly as you could expect, taking away that Rift Herald. Finally gets the pop. We'll pick that up, and they can use that to break this outer turret in mid.
For a pure tank, the fact that he has access to the passive to actually do maximum HP damage on a jungle monster means it's not impossible for him to take the Rift Herald in any sort of a reasonable speed. Does decently.
A slight assist there from Temp, but now, yeah, as you say, the Abyssal Voyage coming through here. Core JJ arriving, trying to get a lockdown onto Ghost. Will throw down that exhaust as both TPs are completed. He's going to get popped up and goes down as Cubey finds the kill. Crown following up, gets rid of Totoro. The bot lane dismantled, and it's a double kill over to the Cassiopeia as Crazy gets punished as well. And now Samsung, they have the run of it. The Baron, obviously not available, still minutes away from this one, but it seems like the Cloud Drake will be the next best thing that they can get. And we see Ruler go ahead and continuing to shove down that bottom lane.
Yeah, big mistake from Crazy to actually complete the teleport. It's being matched by Cuvée, and crucially Tempt did not have the Weaver's Wall available to make a roam of her own. So Tempt pushed in, because remember, the mid lane outer turret was already taken early by Samsung. Teleports are mirrored, but no Weaver's Wall means that by the time Taliyah even gets halfway towards bot lane, Twitch is already dead. Teleport could have been cancelled by Crazy, misreads the situation, or there was a miscall from the side of BBQ, and now the kills are on the board for Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, all in that one moment, picking up those three. And the gold lead does start growing here for them. Well, before it's just a couple hundred, now they have a few thousand ahead for themselves. 2.8 just about here in their favor. As Bless tries to contest these Raptors, but Core JJ says nah.
Everyone on the side of Samsung has a control ward in their inventory. I think Baron is on the menu for this team very shortly. The items are there, and they can take it surprisingly briskly, even without a Mountain Drake or an Infernal.
It's so much consistent damage here. So it would be in a very nice spot to do so. Ruler at the moment, pushing forward, has Core JJ and Haru backing him up. Clear out this ward as they try to get in a position to knock down this final outer turret.
Will be another piece in the puzzle to getting safe Baron vision. Getting the top and mid lane turrets down, usually one of the prerequisites, but mid lane is by far the highest priority turret to clear. Pushing up vision, but for now control wards, and not a full commit to an invade by Samsung means that the game pace is slowed again.
Just gonna go back to slow and steady.
I'm told it wins the race.
Yeah, you know, every now and then.
Rift Herald, claimed a while ago, still hasn't been placed, so it's going to be forced pretty soon. Waiting to see what Bless decides to do with it.
I actually forgot that they had taken it because they just haven't done anything with it.
Mid lane would be the obvious spot. Always want to put it mid lane against Cassiopeia because she has the limited wave clear, and potentially with just a couple of members you can brute force down a turret.
It's just proving so difficult for them to get the setup because Tempt is constantly shoved back, so they would need to commit in here. As a full team, seems like it might be the bottom lane.
Yeah, it's being channeled right now.
All right, so we'll go ahead and cast that. Cube is in the vicinity to try to take care of that, but 1v2 plus Rift Herald equals dead Jarvan. So they'll just be looking to trade a tier 1 in the top side of the map instead.
But now they're going to be forced away, though. Will be another wave required for Samsung to take down this turret. That does mean, because of the speed of BBQ taking it down, that there's going to be big damage on the inner turret here as well.
Gets a nice little charge off and take it down to just above half HP. As Samsung do go ahead and finish this one off.
Getting damage on an inner turret isn't always relevant if you don't have the map control to return to that objective later in the game. So for now, at least, a bit of instant damage trade by BBQ, but Samsung continue to play around the top side, and the control wards around Baron we mentioned are starting to pile up.
I mean, it's actually two very weakened inner turrets in the top and bottom side of the map. So BBQ, if they could get a couple kills, very swift visitations would take down those turrets and you know, claw their way back in here as far as the gold is concerned. For now, Samsung, though, trying to get that vision priority around the Baron. Has been on the Rift for nearly a minute now.
My favorite thing about Samsung is when they buy 5 control wards, they put down 5 control wards. No one's sitting with one in their inventory. All of them have been placed on the map, largely around the top side. So they are the sort of team that tries to move a vision line pretty frequently. Other teams kind of wait for the perfect control ward or always need one in reserve, but they put all 5 down, they back away. Core JJ buys 2 more. And the vision game that Core JJ showed when he debuted as a support in the regional qualifier was one of the things that people really complimented for. It was the laning phase, but also the vision control that have been Core JJ's strongest points as a support.
He's been doing some solid work here for the Samsung organization.
I know you're underplaying, but his story is pretty incredible to come back to Korea after his time on Dignitas as a starting AD carry, sharing a spot with Stitch, and now being a world-class support. All in the case of 2016.
Yeah, I mean, crowned, you know, Brazil. You look at Immortals in North America, Ole as well, playing in Brazil, then going over to Hong Kong Esports.
Wing was always one of those players who's now doing very well for CJ in Challenger. We've heard that before.
All right, well, speaking of Core JJ, he's going to get jumped on. Will get locked down. Has the great health to try to pop. Will flash away first and foremost. The Glacial Prison comes through, but he's still not dead. Now TP coming through. Temps desperately trying to kill the top catch, but Core JJ, he's just going to exit on the backside of the fight. In the meantime, Crown, he gets rid of Bless. Now that's going to be BBQ with no smite available. They're still going to be chasing through, trying to chip down onto Cube, but he is quite all right to walk away with his life here.
Yeah, Core JJ so damn tanky on the Tom Kench. Good exhaust. Stop the threaded volley from hitting. The slow was actually relevant in that particular scenario. We'll go back by big buys coming through from Ruler as well. Like you say, even with smite down, Samsung not able to start the Baron, which is a pretty important thing to talk about, given their Baron speed. And you are on the money. It is a third Cloud Drake spawning in 20 seconds.
You know, I just, I felt this overwhelming sense of dread and disappointment, so I said, you know, what could it be? It's going to be a Cloud Drake.
I mean, you could have just looked at the weather report, which says cloudy or raining in Seoul at the moment. And
yeah, you know, it's monsoon season. unfortunately, it's not good for me because my ceiling is leaking at the moment. So every time
That is a bad time.
yeah, every time you get heavy rain, suddenly just starts dripping through. It's not like a steady stream at least. It's like a drip every 30 seconds or so.
I mean, the bigger problem with monsoon season is that it's often 32 to 40 degrees Celsius or around 100 Fahrenheit at times, and it's raining.
I mean, it was supposed to rain while I was in Shanghai, but it certainly was hot. 117 degrees Fahrenheit.
Nice.
After humidity was calculated in. So it wasn't great. It felt like I was dying all the time.
Well, there you go. You're going to put that in your TripAdvisor for China?
I mean, there's fantastic aspects to Shanghai, such as the food. Good God, there's some fantastic restaurants in the area. But yeah, the heat is not good. So if you want to go to China, I would say go in the wintertime.
It's fair advice.
Yeah.
Well, there's your travel log. Samsung's travel log says, well, we were top and we decided to go get a third Cloud Drake. Not that interesting either.
No. No, it's not. But, you know, they'll take it.
Crown says, well, at least my Rod of Age is stacked. So that's cool.
Yep. I mean, that's been done for like 3 minutes now.
Sitting on a mountain of gold as well.
301, not too shabby there for that Cassiopeia.
Waiting for that Baron power play. That's exactly what Samsung want. They feel like the Baron is their way to complete the game. Come back to the draft. The team fighting for BBQ as the items start to pile up. The Ghost gets better and better. Infinity Edge, the third item, is a possibility, and that would be a sort of spike where Samsung, they choose the wrong engage, and they can certainly be aced by the Plague Rat.
Would be some massive damage, but I mean, BBQ need to do something to stop this momentum from Samsung. Because while it is a pretty slow pace, this is still Samsung moving forward steadily.
It's one of those scenarios where your first thought is, well, whatever, we'll just farm up and we'll have 3 items, we'll win team fights, but like I was saying before, Baron buff does undo a lot of the guarantees about BBQ's comp. So that's the one objective that they can't surrender.
I mean, your wave clear goes out the window.
And they didn't have that much. Talia is kind of the big wave clear champion,
Yeah.
like you say. Gets answered. His bot lane, a lot of fighting's happening as well. The 1v1 here too.
Dominance comes through. Crown gonna get jumped on, throws at the Petrifying Gaze, but Ghost's not gonna get locked up by this.
Or JJ alone.
Arriving, will get popped up. We'll see how long it takes him to kill him this time around. As Ruler in the meantime walks down to the bottom lane, looking for Crazy. Ash Arrow going wide, not gonna be finding it again. Does miss that one out, but just in time. Does kill the Crocodile and saves Cuve's life. In the meantime, CoreJJ did die. Didn't have the flash this time.
Awkward flash from Crazy into the Flag and Drag.
Okay, this is what we talked about, though, was these already weakened turrets. So that the first of the game will be going down in favor of BBQ.
Baron buff on BBQ's side kind of has the same story when you're talking about Cassiopeia's wave clear as well. So Baron buff, very high priority for both teams, and almost necessitated on the side for Samsung to close the game. But Crazy still 15 seconds from respawn, and the inside track on mid lane. BBQ, despite their good work on top side, are losing out pretty extensively on turret HP.
Yeah, Cuve looking like he's just going to stick around and finish this one off. In the
Gets the
meantime,
interrupt.
He's going to get halted, and oh boy, that's going to be the Sejuani disappearing. And Crown also makes the rat disappear. Takes him out 401 with that. Samsung will go ahead and start this Baron. So all of the good things that BBQ just did in the last 2 minutes, they don't matter anymore.
Yeah, this is the second magic trick. Made a rat disappear. They're going to make a purple worm disappear as well. Goodbye, Baron buff. You're gone.
Oh, dear. Well, that's one of those moments where you get really mad at your teammate for recalling while you're dying.
The VOD time has been written down by the coach. He's like, 26:30.
Okay, got this one.
Cue up this VOD.
All right.
Guys, you were winning till then.
And it all went bad here.
Winning is strong, but they were executing their winning conditions largely and farming up to a point where they could take fights.
They were very much in the game at the time.
They were. They were competitive.
But, well, no longer. Unless Samsung screws up in the biggest way possible.
I mean, you could botch a fight. It's possible that if a 5v5 is forced, they could botch a fight. So, as Ghost puts a BF sword and we'll start working towards that Infinity Edge, there is still that outside chance.
Surprisingly, Crown has not built the Leandries.
Well, he's trying to kill the first target, which may be the Sejuani.
Well, it's going to be another Ash Arrow not connecting, and now maybe a spot of bother here for CoreJJ yet again. Has that shield pop, will flash over the wall and over the Weaver's wall as well to keep himself alive. So it does limp away Yet again, in the meantime, another tier 2 turret going down as Cuvée finishes that one off in the mid lane. Just nothing that Crazy can do to stop him.
Permafrost from Bless actually interrupted the tunnel take from Haru. I haven't seen that interaction before. Didn't go all the way through the turret. Samsung, picking up turrets, trying to keep going around the turret on top, and Bless is going to contest Crown.
Big assault coming through, Petrifying Gaze does get thrown down. Crazy gets stunned up. Bless dangerously low, has to flash over the corner, trying to keep himself alive. In the meantime, poor JJ bidding out Ruler will go down, but Ruler just firing away with a hail of arrows, trying to come up with these kills. Will weaken the members of BBQ for the rest of the squad to go ahead and clean up. A double kill going over to Haru. Ruler not going down, only losing out on the Tahm Kench. It's 3 members dead on the side of BBQ. Baron buff minions pushing in. Samsung have complete control over the game.
Yeah, Samsung's late game team fighting was always one of their core cards, and unfortunately for BBQ, they abandoned what their comp does well, setting up in front of the Twitch, and in general split their attention, looking to pick someone on the side. Twitch is one of the first to fall. So is BBQ's hopes in that particular fight, and their base will be in ruins after the set of mistakes around the Baron.
Yeah, and this is looking like deja vu, but inverted as Samsung goes ahead and looks to sweep through all 3 of these inhibitors away from the bottom lane. A little ways away, but I'm sure Cuvée could really take that one up if he wanted to. But with the respawns coming in, Tempt in 8 seconds, Samsung will play this one safely. They will go ahead and peel back.
So quickly the game can turn against a top team, and Samsung Galaxy do represent one of the best teams in Korea. Again, weren't looking the best before Rift Rivals or even at the tournament. The problem here is it's all about Ghost. Remember, he is the one who needs to be firing in safety. They continue to chase. They're chasing further, but now Haru and Crown get backline access because they push in greedily to try to take on Tahm Kench and Ruler. Then the rest of Samsung come. And the backline is exposed because the backline moved up too far, Achilles.
Yeah, he just disappeared yet again. In a matter of seconds, Ghost just gets absolutely annihilated. So, not looking good here for BBQ. Samsung now 2 waves pushing with super creeps. Baron buff will be expiring soon, so that's a very slight reprieve, I suppose, for BBQ on the defense. But maybe just giving up another dragon. Ocean Drake will be spawning if Samsung has any remote interest in that. It is theirs to take.
And they want to end the game as fast as possible, and I really argue with that particular line. Cuvée has a Guardian Angel for his I'm an Initiator build. Doesn't need the Gargo Stoneplate, it seems. He just wants to add the extra damage, kill Twitch while it splashes down, and end the game.
Yep. Well, here we go. The siege has begun. Cuvée threatening to poke in from above. Threaten that. A backline access on the Ghost yet again. You can see Temp trying to zone him back, but doesn't have too much damage to offer up against that J4. He'll throw down the Weaver's Wall. Will lock Haru and Crown into this little corner here as that Glacial Fissure comes down, but there's just no damage follow-up. No way to really threaten Crown. Seismic Jump weaken him a little bit here as Haru will get devoured. Keeps himself alive.
Meanwhile,
Cuvée, he's just riding the waves into victory.
That'll be one Nexus turret taken down. They also will be able to stay with the minion wave and bots, I imagine, even with the low health bars. No Ocean Drakes to get them healthier, but no problem for Samsung.
Yeah, that was just one of those. Meanwhile, back at the Nexus moments, back at the farm, back at the ranch, whatever you want to say. And BBQ, yeah. They're just going to get strangled out of this rather swiftly. Ruler shooting back, has that Guardian Angel ready to go, so he can play about as far forward as he wants, because Core JJ would also be there to devour him yet again. So 3 inhibitors down, and this should just be the end of the game. A few minutes longer than game 1. This will be the engagement coming through. Cuvée just killing Ghost with the Cataclysm. Absolutely assassinates the Rat. Petrifying Gaze connecting in onto Depth as he desperately tries to get away, but Crown will have none of that. Takes him down in about 32 minutes, right there exactly on the clock. Samsung will complete the 2-0, the second one here today, and they will maintain their spot at the top of the standings.
Cool, calm, and collected from Samsung Galaxy. This one was not as straightforward as game 1. They couldn't fight the game on their own terms for the entirety of the early game, but the moment the going started getting good, they got the Baron and ended the game pretty comfortably. Picking an MVP for this one, not necessarily as straightforward as the previous game, but another free farm day from Crown in the mid lane was great to see, and Cuvée extends his top lane Jarvan win rate to 5-0. When they can choose their fights, when they can choose their battles, Samsung Galaxy control the game. You said it many times, choked the life out of BBQ. The stranglehold, it seemed to extend for 2 games largely, with a couple couple of minutes of reprieve at the start of Game 2. But the only winner in this series was it looking like it was going to be Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, and BBQ, again, I mean, we said how difficult of a task it would be for them to, take a game in this series, but they looked a bit competitive here in game number 2, but then it all unraveled in a matter of seconds. So still have things to tighten up on if they want to advance up the standings and try to avoid that relegation zone that is currently occupied by Ever8 and MVP.
Insane things. We mentioned the timestamp, right? The timestamp was 26:30 when we were like, okay, BBQ, first big mistake of the game. Game was over. A Baron buff duration later.
6 minutes later.
30 minutes later, 32 minutes later, game was over. So the ability to close the game so clinically, another example of why Samsung are one of the best teams in our league. We've seen KT Rolster, for example, still struggle to close games when they're ahead. No such struggles for Samsung Galaxy. Vision control on point from Core JJ in both games. With Haru, it wasn't quite the same as Ambition, but with a different draft, you couldn't really gauge how much of an impact Haru had. Haru, like Peanut, I think, a little bit adversely affected by the new Cinderhulk meta that we find ourselves in, but comfortable stuff for Samsung.
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as clean. Again, this was definitely the more competitive one compared to game 1 here for BBQ. But it seems like Samsung, they still do have that freedom to plug and play Haru or Ambition. Not so much on the Stitch and Wraith situation. We haven't seen enough of that one. But yet again, as you would expect, Crown did lots of damage. 25.7k throughout the duration of that 32-minute game.
Might just be a easy double MVP for Crown. As, like you say, wasn't as happy in the laning phase. Talia able to do some pushing, but they got the mid lane turret, and that rotation from Samsung was the biggest macro play of Game 2. They got the very early mid lane turret, and no longer was Talia harassing Crown under his turret and pushing him in, and will be Crown picking up the double MVP, starting that late charge towards Kuro and Smeb, the double Rocks Tiger duo at the top of the table.
Yeah, trying to make up for some lost time here. Double MVP for him. Now just 3 wins behind tying Kuro. He'll still be in that 4th place spot, but he's sitting right behind BDD and Smeb. So a very solid space to be in.
And you'll notice that all the replays in this package will be after the mid lane turret is down. The mid lane turret was the first to go down, and no longer could Talia respond first, and in fact it was the roams from Core JJ, and with the global of his own in the Abyssal Voyage, that's what allowed Crown to be the first person to rotate bot lane. Something you never really think of in a Cassiopeia versus Talia matchup. And from there, you have to see some of the team fights. This is the one where so close were they in trying to kill Core JJ, not able to do so. Doing some big trolling on the Tom Kench.
Yeah, just walking around this time. Wasn't so fortunate, didn't have the flash, so does fall in the end.
That was an interesting
replay
choice.
I guess because Crown made it to the other side of the
Crown was on
wall.
the screen. Well, he was on the screen for a half second there. And this was the fight where BBQ really thought they could kill Ruler and Core JJ and forgot that they needed to have a front line in front of a Twitch. And then Crown was like, okay, you're dead. Okay.
All right. It's Twin Fang. That's it.
You can't make many mistakes at the top level.
Nope.
What you kind of learn from this particular game. So better from BBQ in Game 2, certainly. Game 1 was a masterclass from Samsung. Game 2 more competitive, but still. Only one winner when they got any sort of inch ahead. Samsung Galaxy, and they cement themselves as top of the table going into the weekend.
Yeah, they certainly do. Looking very strong here, Samsung. The question's going to be, can they maintain that, ride it all the way into perhaps the grand final?
Remember, 2nd in the regular season in spring. They're looking to go one better.
All right, well, we'll see how that develops. For now, let's go ahead and hear from our solo MVP. It's Crown, so Joel, take it away with the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your last interview translation of the day, and we're here with Samsung picking up a 2-0 victory, a casual one against BBQ Olivers, and we are here with today's only MVP who carried this series for these guys, and here's Crown for the interview. Crown, Samsung is at 11 wins right now and currently in 1st place of LCK. How do you feel? I feel like the first 4 teams in the LCK are in a very tough battle right now, trying to get the first spot. So I'm very happy with how we are doing right now. And I'm sure you guys had a moment as an organization where you guys didn't do as well. And it seems like you guys are really coming back in form as the top of the league right now. I think practice is part of what we were being so successful, but I think, you know, just think of it differently. Is like when we don't play bad is when we're good, and just being positive about our every situation. I think that really got us very far into this placement right now, and result-oriented wise, I think we're feeling a lot better about ourselves. In game 1, they went with the Corki early on in the draft, but eventually flexed it into ADC instead. How did you feel about that?
네, 저는 픽할 때 이제 상대방이 코르키를 픽했을 때 너무 빨리 먹더라고요.
Yeah, I felt like the Corki was picked a little bit too early to comfort. And I felt like they had something about it, but I just kind of thought it as an option that they might flex it to ADC, and it actually happened. So it was a bit of a surprise for me.
이번 시즌에는 처음 사용하신 거거든요.
네.
예, 그리고 솔로 랭크에서도 집중적으로 연습했던 데이터 흔적은 있는데
네.
그런 거 보면서 좀
And with the Cassiopeia, it was actually the first time you played it this entire season. But we saw you play a lot in solo queue, and actually shown us a glimpse of it in past seasons.
예전부터 잘 사용을 했는지 모르겠지만
Yeah, I think Cassiopeia, it was just definitely an on and off champion for me, where when I felt comfortable to use it, I just kind of used it since a long time ago. So I think it was always in the back of my pocket, really just ready for me to pull it out whenever the situation came through. And your kill contribution was 100% on that one. And we can see a few examples of that through this video highlight. Just feels like Ambition, of course, did a good job of helping out the mid lane, but you kind of handled your situation over and over by yourself. Yeah, I think that was the situation where the opponent mid lane was really too greedy for CS, and I just made him pay for making that mistake on his part. Did you feel at any point in the game that you were gonna get the MVP today? I really had no idea until the game actually ended. You know, when it ended, obviously I saw that I did all right. So, and until game 1 ended, I thought that yeah, maybe they will give me the MVP for that one. It would be a nice thing to have. And we saw in this clip from a weekly LCK that you were really trying to give away your MVPs to your teammate, but do you still think that? I think recently I haven't said that as much, but I think none of my teammates are really greedy for the MVP points as I am. So we were just trying to guess with each other who will be the MVP every time we win, and it's just a very fun thing to think about. The fact that we can always think about who the MVP is after we win the game. In game 2, you all picked out the Cassiopeia again. And it just seems like, with the composition that the opposition was throwing at you guys, did you guys feel that the Cassiopeia was a good pick to go with? Yeah, I felt like my condition today was pretty satisfying, so playing something like the Cassiopeia was a comfort pick for me today. And one of the things we want to talk about with the Braum and Sejuani composition, we actually saw the opponents pick it out today. But what did you feel about playing against that composition that you guys pretty much formulated yourselves? Well, I'm not a really Sejuani user or Braum player, so I think the most important part about it is keeping your endurance. And I think when you're facing that kind of competition, it's just whenever you're getting an offensive opportunity, just go for it, but you have to back out at the right time as well. And since it's mostly based on CC, I think it's a good thing to calculate exactly how that will fall out once they do start that chain. And what did you feel actually when they actually pulled out the competition in game 2? I mean, once again with Sejuani and Braum, you know, I think just regardless of the composition, since I'm not really against those lanes and against that jungle path, so it wasn't. I didn't worry about it too much. I just kind of worried about my lane and my part.
사실 탑켄치라는 픽이 최근에는 좀 티어가 많이 내려간 듯한 인상이 있었는데
And we really thought that Tom Kench had really gone down in the meta and gone down in priority, but it feels like you guys are still sticking with it.
다른 챔프를 하자 이렇게 했었는데
Yeah, we actually recommended a different champion.
탐켄치 이거 자신 있다고.
But Core JJ, he really spoke out to us that he was feeling confident on the Tom Kench pick in this situation, so we just kind of trusted him that he will do his part.
는 조합적으로 봤을 때는 약간 불안감이 드신 적은 없었나요?
Did you not feel any nervousness or insecurity regarding the composition that you guys came up with in game 2? Because it was a little bit unusual in some aspects of that draft.
굴리면은 생각은 안 하고 굴리면은 어떻게 된다.
You know, we didn't think about if we were behind all the punishments that we get. We didn't think about it. We just kind of thought about if we got the advantages, what would happen to us. And those are the things that we kind of always had in mind. We didn't think about the negative parts of the draft.
이 세트 활약 장면도 준비돼 있다고 하니까
We do have another video highlight of game 2 as well. I'd like to show that real quick. Do you remember this play? Do you want to commentate on this specific play? Yeah, I think the bot duo was talking to themselves, trying to how to handle the situation, but the rest of us three were really just focused on the bottom part of this fight, where we try to go for a good opportunity to get into the fight. So we were having a very sparse communication that was effective as well.
입장에서 보면은 상대 조합이 좀 부담되는 상황이었거든요. 그러니까 포지션 잡기가 어떻게 보면 되게
And it was really hard for the opponents to pick a good positioning in opening those team fights. But did you guys have a picture in mind when you guys opened up that team fight?
저는 반대로 카시오페아가 플레이하기 쉬운 조합이라 생각했거든요.
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know how you guys think about this, but I thought it was a good composition for Cassiopeia to play against. So that's kind of what my opinion on that is. And it's just a situation where that mobility really goes a good way, where you can put in the damage and quickly escape and do that again repeatedly, and against that kind of composition that the opponent decided to go with. And that was a situation where I felt like the Cassiopeia was a very comfortable pick to go with.
이거 좀 새로운 해석이네요. 그렇죠. 좀 궁금한 게 그래서 이제 마지막에 경기가 다 끝나고 부스가 딱 이제 카메라로 비쳤는데 부스로 비쳤는데 그 감독님
And after the game ended and the camera went to the booth, I think we do have a video highlight of that as well. We actually saw the coach saying something to Ruler. We're kind of curious on what he was exactly saying. And there you go, where he just comes in, he says something.
약간 혼내는 듯한
Feels like he was giving him the fingers.
그 실수에 대해서
I think he was really going for that mistake where around that Sejuani when he got caught early, so that's kind of what we was kind of pointing at, but it was no big deal.
Tough love.
감독님이니까 알겠습니다. 요즘 뭐 사실 분위기 너무 좋습니다.
I think, you know, regardless of that, I think you guys are in such a good form and you guys should be very happy about your situation.
크라운 선수가 MVP 받을 정도로 고른 활약을 보여주면서
But with Crown picking up the MVP once again by himself, would you like to say anything to your teammates along with your fans as well?
2라운드가 시작되고 벌써 세 번째 판이 끝났는데
I feel like ever since the second round robin started, we're already done with our third match, and we always thank you for all the support that you guys give us. That really helps us to get the positive
열심히 해줘서 고맙고
results. And I also thank the teammates, because, you know, I'll always try hard, so you guys always keep trying hard, and we just want to do our best. You guys know what I'm talking about. So seems like the end of the interview. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel, for closing out the night there with that solo MVP interview. So, Crown yet again trying to climb the standings, very much like his squad has been able to do. He's not resting on top, but he's working his way there. He needs to overthrow Kuro, and then it'll just be first place across the board for him. But on the day, it's a 2-0 here in both of our sets. Samsung taking down BBQ Olivers, and SKT also suffering another 0-2 loss at the hands of Long.
And I feel bad for the OGN Legion because we only had 2 hours of gameplay today between the two series. Maybe a bit of change after the 2 hours, but not much more than that. Like SKT and also BBQ struggled to make much of an impression, and the result here is that Samsung are clear at the top. 13 games played, 11-2, game score also in great stead against Longzhu Gaming. So Our new overloads, I say overload because I've cast too much Rise apparently, but our new overlords are certainly Samsung Galaxy as SKT continue their freefall, and Samsung will be playing again in our first match. You and I will be casting it on Saturday. They get another, you'd have to imagine, pretty simple opposition for them against MVP.
Yeah, and then Longzhu coming up with the victory over SK Telecom, going up against Ever 8. So it's going to be our top 2 teams going against the bottom 2
Could have another short day.
So, yeah, maybe we get out of here even earlier on Saturday, Papa Smithy.
It's pretty hard to get out of here less than an hour 50 for interview and 2 games starting at 8 p.m.
But if we can do it, it's probably that day, unless we can be surprised by MVP and Ever 8 winners. But that is going to be a David and Goliath style matchup for both of those squads.
Does mean that Longzhu, I believe, will be able to move into outright second at least for a little bit if they're able to win in that series. And KT have much more stiff opposition. KT versus Afrika at the Gangnam Stadium. That's going to be a really fun one to watch.
I mean, that's the thing. They're going to be trying to take back that second place spot from Longzhu, who have that easier match, and they have to get through Afrika Freaks on Sunday. So that'll be an interesting one. Then Generic Green Wings versus the Rocks Tigers. Rocks not looking so great.
Nope.
Just yesterday. But we'll see if they can bounce back from that one. Jin Air did suffer a loss, 2-0 at the hands of BBQ, so they aren't without their own, flaws, so very well could drop a game or 2 to Rocks.
It's so hard to read this season now with SKT's
I
free
just never know
fall.
what's happening.
You come back and you are bringing tidings of I'm the man to rescue SKT. Well, we've got to find Doa. He's the only one who can do it. So unfortunately, he's in Australia right now, so won't be able to help them.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be getting him back here. So maybe SKT's just screwed. Who knows? We'll find out as LCK continues next time.
Clip that one.